London, 1814, a city of charm, scandal, and far too many secrets wrapped in silk. For 3 winters I remained away, banished, some might say, but London has a peculiar way of forgetting disgrace until the carriages return and the curtains rise once more. They say this year's season will be unlike any other. Perhaps they're right, because this year I am no longer a naive observer. I am the author of my own ruin. The air in Mayfair was colder than I remembered. Frost clung to the gates of Grosvenor Square, and the scent of freshly polished carriages filled the streets. Ladies hurried inside dressmakers' shops, whispering about titles, dowries, and whispered invitations. The season, that glittering illusion of love and strategy, had begun. "Lady Eveline Ashbourne has returned," I overheard a vendor say. His voice carried through the winter air like gossip carried through lace. "Oh, indeed," another replied. "I thought her quite done for after, well, you know." Yes, they always know. And yet, never quite enough, I stepped down from the carriage, the hem of my gown brushing against the cobblestones, pale blue silk, a shade too daring for someone who had once been exiled by whispers. Mrs. Blythe, my maid, trailed behind, clutching my journal and a nervous sigh. "You needn't look so pale, Blythe," I said softly. "Ghosts only haunt those who believe in them." She adjusted her bonnet, muttering, "And yet, my lady, London has quite a few ghosts, some still breathing." How right she was. Not changed, still standing proud and cold among its neighbours, its iron gates as black as sin. Inside, the fire had been lit, though the warmth felt borrowed. An envelope awaited me on the silver tray near the door, cream paper, sealed in gold wax, the crest of House Hawthorne. I didn't need to open it to know its meaning. The season begins tonight. A smile curved on my lips. How delightful. Hours later, the Hawthorne ballroom shimmered like a snow globe. Crystal chandeliers spilled light upon gowns that looked spun from moonlight. The sound of strings filled the air, and the scent of rosewater clung to every corner. I paused at the entrance, eyes scanning the crowd, and there he was, the Duke of Wrenmore. He stood like temptation carved in marble, dark hair, darker eyes, and a reputation as lethal as it was magnetic. Rumour claimed his wife had drowned herself. Others whispered he had helped her sink. Either way, the ton adored him. When his gaze found mine across the room, the orchestra seemed to fade. His bow was polite, practiced. Mine was slower, deliberate. "Lady Eveline," he greeted, voice a shade too amused. "You've returned. The city will have something to talk about." "They always do," I replied. "But tell me, Your Grace, will they speak of you again this year?" He smiled faintly. "Only if you write about me, as you used to." I leaned closer, letting the scent of his cologne fill the air between us, wood, smoke, and sin. "I only write about the living," I whispered. His expression didn't falter. "Then I should be safe." "Should you?" I asked softly. He said nothing, but his silence said enough. Lady Cassandra Vale interrupted like a blade through silk. Her gown, crimson, scandalous, left no doubt that she intended to be the talk of the season. "Lady Eveline," she purred. "How brave of you to appear." "Bravery," I replied, smiling, "is merely the art of pretending not to tremble." She laughed lightly, though her eyes flickered toward the Duke. Ah, jealousy, that exquisite perfume of the upper class. Behind her perfect posture, I saw something else. Desperation. She was hunting for a title, any title, before her family's debts devoured their last shilling. "Your gown is lovely," she said, her tone honeyed with poison. "Thank you," I replied. "It's remarkable what one can wear when one owes no explanations." The orchestra swelled, and the Duke extended his hand toward her instead. For a moment I thought I saw hesitation. In him, not her. But he danced away, leaving me at the edge of the ballroom, where whispers danced louder than violins. "Lady Ashbourne," came a voice behind me, Lord Henry Vale, Cassandra's charming and utterly unreliable brother. "Still enchanting, even when ignored. You have a talent for returning from social death." "Some resurrections," I said, "are best witnessed by sinners." He grinned, tilting his glass. "I do enjoy a good resurrection." I laughed softly, a sound that didn't reach my eyes. "Careful, Lord Vale. Your charm might one day cost you more than your inheritance." "Ah," he said, stepping closer. "But what if you're what I wish to inherit?" I looked up at him, unblinking. "Then you're already doomed." As the night deepened, the air grew heavier, not from heat but from anticipation. Every smile was a weapon, every glance a rumour waiting to bloom, and in the far corner the Duke's eyes still found me, again and again, like a curse refusing to fade. The Viscountess Hawthorne clinked her glass for silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "the season is officially open. May love be pure, and scandals few." Laughter rippled through the crowd. We all knew better. I turned toward the grand mirror beside the staircase, catching my reflection. The woman who had been cast out now returned like a ghost wearing perfume. "Welcome back, Lady Ashbourne," I whispered to myself. "Let the games begin." The ballroom swirled in gold and gossip. Music rose, laughter glittered, and behind every fan fluttered a lie waiting to be born. I drifted along the edge of the dance floor, half invisible, half the subject of every glance. That's the art of survival in London, to be both seen and untouchable. A familiar whisper caught my ear. "Lady Eveline," said Viscountess Hawthorne, smiling too wide. "How marvellous that you've recovered from everything." "Recovery," I said lightly, and really the polite term for revenge in progress?" Her fan stopped mid-air. "Oh, my dear, what a dangerous word." "Not half as dangerous," I murmured, as pretending to be kind. The Viscountess laughed, but the tremor in her hand betrayed her. Her husband had been found dead in his carriage last winter. Heart failure, they claimed, though some swore his heart had been helped along. Across the room, Lady Cassandra spun in the Duke's arms. Their smiles were rehearsed, their eyes were not. He led her effortlessly, but his gaze slipped once, toward me just once. That was enough. "Careful, Your Grace," whispered Cassandra, her lips barely moving. "If you stare too long, the ghosts might think you miss them." He replied softly, "Some ghosts never left." The orchestra changed. A waltz slower than most, heavier somehow. I felt it, a pull, a memory, something buried beneath silk and civility. Lord Henry approached, ever the opportunist. "Dance with me, Lady Eveline. If not for romance, then for appearance's sake. They'll say we're plotting a scandal." "Perhaps we are," I said, resting my hand on his arm. He smirked. "Then let's make it convincing." We moved across the floor, a perfect pair of practiced sinners. He whispered as we turned. My sister plans to trap the Duke before spring. She thinks he'll marry her out of boredom or guilt. And what do you think? I think, he said, spinning me closer, you're the reason he hasn't yet. The words hit harder than the music I laughed to hide the silence. Lord Henry, I said softly, you mistake curiosity for power. He is neither mine nor hers. Then whose is he? I leaned in, my lips near his ear. No one owns a storm. The morning came with frost and letters. Servants rushed through the hall carrying trays and rumours alike. Mrs. Blythe entered my chamber, clutching a sealed envelope. Another invitation, my lady, from Lady Hawthorne herself. Ah, I sighed, the woman wastes no time. It's for her garden luncheon, she said nervously. Only 20 guests, and they say she's invited the Duke again. Then it's not a luncheon, I replied. It's a hunt. By noon, I was seated among the city's finest predators. Silk rustled, laughter bloomed, and every word was a weapon dipped in honey. Lady Hawthorne sat at the head of the table, her eyes gleaming like polished knives. Lady Eveline, she began sweetly, you've been away far too long. London missed you. And yet, I said, here you all are, quite alive without me. A few ladies giggled, a few men choked on their wine. Cassandra smiled thinly. Oh, but we did miss you. Your perspective keeps things interesting. How kind, I said. I do strive to provide entertainment between scandals. The Duke arrived late, deliberately, I suspect. His presence drew every gaze, but his eyes sought only one. Mine. Lady Hawthorne noticed, of course. She noticed everything. Well, she said brightly, since His Grace has graced us with his company, perhaps he'll favour us with a story. Something romantic, perhaps. He smiled, but the look was anything but gentle. I find romance overrated, he said. It always ends with someone bleeding. The laughter that followed was uneasy. Cassandra touched his arm, playing her role perfectly. How dreadful, she said. Surely you exaggerate. Not at all, he said. You'd be surprised what people do in the name of affection. After the meal, the guests scattered across the gardens, pretending to admire roses while gathering ammunition for gossip. I wandered toward the farthest hedge, away from the noise, and away from the eyes. Running away again? His voice followed. Merely walking, I said, not turning. Walks lead to truths, he murmured. Then perhaps we should stop before we find one. He stepped closer. I could feel his presence, his breath, his restraint. Do you still write? Always. And what do you write about now? Survival, I said softly, and the price of curiosity. Then London must owe you a fortune. Indeed, I whispered, it pays in silence. Before I could step away, a sound tore through the stillness, a scream, distant yet unmistakable. Guests rushed from the terrace, servants shouted. I turned toward the fountain. There, half submerged in the frozen water, lay a figure in red silk. Lady Cassandra. Chaos bloomed like wildfire. Voices collided, hands pointed, and the Duke's face turned to stone. She's still breathing, someone shouted. Servants pulled her from the water. Her lips were pale, her jewels heavy with frost. Lady Hawthorne gasped. Who could have... But she stopped, eyes flicking toward me, because I was standing closest to the fountain, and in my hand was the crimson ribbon torn from Cassandra's gown. I looked down at it, the colour of sin, the scent of roses and fear. Then I smiled faintly. Oh, I said quietly, how unfortunate. The Duke's gaze met mine. searching, accusing, remembering. I slipped the ribbon into my pocket. Perhaps, I murmured, some ghosts prefer to haunt the living. The garden was chaos. Lanterns swung wildly in the wind, casting trembling shadows over the frozen fountain. Servants shouted, guests gasped, and in the centre of it all lay Lady Cassandra Vale. Her gown clung to her like a scarlet confession, her pulse faint, her beauty ruined by frost. The Duke knelt beside her, his voice steady but his hands trembling. "Fetch the physician, quickly." No one moved. Everyone stared, not at Cassandra, but at me, because in my hand was her ribbon. It was instinct. Nothing more. I had found it fluttering near the hedge, caught between thorns. But the world doesn't believe in innocence when scandal makes better music. "Lady Eveline," said the Viscountess, voice sharp as broken glass, "how fortunate you were to be nearby." "Fortune," I replied, "has rarely been my ally." Lord Henry appeared, pale and frantic. "What happened?" "Ask your sister," someone hissed, and for the first time that night, silence fell. The kind that tastes of judgment. By dawn, Cassandra had survived barely. Her memory, however, had not, or so the doctor claimed. Convenient, isn't it? A woman nearly dies and forgets everything except her own innocence. Still, the whispers grew. That I had pushed her. That the Duke had helped me hide it. That perhaps his first wife hadn't drowned alone. Ah, London, always quick to mourn and quicker to accuse. Later I sat in my study, staring at the crimson ribbon on my desk. It looked harmless now, soft, delicate, almost innocent, a perfect metaphor for women like us. Mrs. Blythe entered quietly. "My lady," she whispered, "the papers. They've printed your name." "Good," I said. It was growing lonely in people's mouths. She hesitated. "They say the Duke defended you." I turned my gaze toward the window. "Did he?" "I believe so." "Then he's a fool," I whispered, "because they'll destroy him for it." Hours passed. The city moved on, as it always does, but that night someone slipped a letter beneath my door, no seal, no name, just one line, written in an elegant hand. "Meet me where she fell." I should have burned it. Instead, I went. The garden was silent, colder than before, emptier somehow. The fountain had been drained, the roses covered in frost. And there he was, the Duke, waiting. "I warned you," he said quietly. "London would eat you alive." "And yet," I replied, "here you are, still hungry." He stepped closer. "I didn't write that note." "Then who—" Before I could finish, a shadow moved beyond the hedge. A whisper, faint but deliberate. "She remembers," it said. I turned sharply, but the garden was empty again. No footsteps, no breath, only the sound of snow and my own heartbeat. The Duke reached for me. "Eveline, tell me the truth. Did you—" "I don't know," I said. And that was the most honest thing I'd ever spoken. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rang. Midnight. The hour when reputations die and stories begin. I looked down at my hands. The ribbon was gone. Only a stain of red remained on my glove. And so ends the first night of the season, with blood, silence, and one you.